the percentage requirement for this year. For a statewide unaffiliated candidate, it will drop it to 5,000, which is over an 80,000 percentage drop. For a congressional candidate, however, there is some problem with it that we're working on right now. It'll change the requirement from 4% to a 3% requirement, which will drop the number of senators. It's sort of the minimal number, but there is a little problem with it. We're having to get that fixed because if you get the senator requirements numbers, it'll require more senators from a congressional candidate from a subdivision of the state than it will from a candidate for a statewide office, up to 2 to 3 times as many, which was declared by the Supreme Court in 1979 as unconstitutional, violation of the 14th Amendment. But we've talked to Senator Jacquemin, and he said it was an oversight, and he is working on that right now to get that fixed, either put a cap on that part of the legislation or to change the percentage requirement. So right now, basically, it brings down the senator requirements to a more, you could say, acceptable level, one that's more in line with states around us.
We're speaking with Jordon Greene. He's the founder and president of North Carolinians for Free and Proper Elections. Now, Jordon, to play devil's advocate here for a moment, North Carolina already has one of the longest ballots in the nation. We tend to elect a lot of folks here in this state. If we lower the ballot access requirements, won't that just make for an even longer and more cluttered and more confusing ballot, and might even mean more fringe candidates taking away votes from more legitimate contenders? What do you say to that?
With the cluttered ballot, yeah, of course, it'll make the ballot a little longer because, of course, you'll have more candidates for each office. But when it comes to actually cluttering the ballot, to say that it's going to cause a problem, confuse the voter, that sort of thing, which, as you said, many state legislatures, that's the main argument they have. That's the main thing they have that they worry about with reducing these numbers. That argument itself on a cluttered ballot causes confusion is not that legitimate. The Supreme Court in, I believe it was 1968, in Williams v. Rhodes, decided, after they looked into the problem, that having up to 8 candidates for any given office on the ballot is not and cannot be considered voter clutter of the ballot and will not confuse the voter. And so up to 8 candidates on any given office cannot be considered clutter or to be confusing by the Supreme Court. And, I mean, if you look through history, any state that's required around 5,000 or more signatures to get on the ballot has never had, and that for a party or for an unaffiliated candidate, has never had over 8 candidates on the election ballot for a statewide office. And so the requirement that's set out in this new bill should, in itself, should probably prevent there ever being anywhere near 8, 9 candidates anyway. And so, you might have 8 candidates, but I don't believe that you're going to have more than that with the requirement that we're setting out. You mentioned fringe candidates. You can get that. I mean, that's always a possibility, but I mean, you mentioned taking away votes from the other candidates. That a lot of that just depends on what people think. At the time, people thought that Michael Munger, for example, that ran for governor last year, whenever he ran, they felt that he took votes away from the Republican candidate, McCrory. But after Michael Munger, did some research on it, and other people did with him, they found that he actually took more votes from Purdue than he did from McCrory, and that even if he had not run, the vote total he received would not have made any difference in the election. The election still would have went the way it did. And so I think a lot of the fears people have about it taking votes away from one candidate and causing another to win are mostly unfounded.
So why should your average voter, far removed from brawly politics, who may not be involved in party politics and has no interest in running for office, him or herself, why should that average voter care about ballot access laws?
It's very simple. It's the right to vote. It's the right for them as a person to have a voice in their government. if you can't go to the polls and say, this is who I believe should represent me, who should be the one there saying how this state should be run, how this nation should be run, then you don't have a voice in anything else. You don't have the ability to say, I believe that this issue should be changed. I believe this, the budget should be different. You don't have any ability to do that because you don't have the voice on Election Day to put in. And whenever the state restricts people from, or candidates from being on the ballot, essentially what's being said is you don't have the right to vote. And as the Supreme Court again quoted in the Williams v. Road case, they said in their opinion, no right is more precious in a free country than that of having a voice in the election of those who make the laws under which, as good citizens, we must live. Other rights, even the most basic, are illusory if the right is undermined. So even the right to free speech, First Amendment, Second Amendment rights, the right to warrant, all those rights, really for the individual pinned on the right to vote. And if you don't have the right to vote, none of those others are really that, you'd say real, whenever that comes to voting.
We have been speaking with Jordon Greene. He is the president and founder of North Carolinians for Free and Proper Elections. Jordon, how can folks learn more about your organization?
They can go online to www.ncfpe.com, and there you'll find information specifically about the organization, our mission, information about the laws themselves. And once the elections get near, we'll have stuff about candidates. We'll survey candidates to let people know where they're the ones that are running in their area, where they stand on the issues of ballot access. And so they can go there to www.ncfpe.com.
That's it for this edition of the Voter Update. Let us know what you think about the issues discussed in this episode by sending an email to feedback@voterradio.com or visit us online at voterradio.com/update. We'll be back next week with more insight and analysis of politics in North Carolina and beyond. Until then, I'm Bryan Warner, and this has been the Voter Update from the North Carolina Center for Voter Education and voterradio.com.